Well, let me start with thank you, Sarah Kay. That was a really amazing story, and thank you for sharing that with us. We've been talking a lot about moments that matter, right? Because we know that every interaction, whether you're opening an account, whether you're issuing a policy, or whether you're making a financial decision, that is important, and that is important for somebody in a moment that matters the most. So today, we want to talk to a couple of organizations about how are they taking these individual interactions and changing the way they design a complete end-to-end customer experience. So to get us started with the conversation, maybe I can ask you guys to introduce yourselves first and maybe talk a little bit about what your role is and what type of customer experience you're responsible for. So Kirsten, can I ask to start with you, please?
Sure. I'm Kirsten Brennan. I'm the product manager for SmartCOMM, SmartIQ, and DocuSign at Northern Trust. I work with the business to help innovate their processes and improve the client experience.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Egan. I am a director with the Bancorp Bank. I work with the institutional banking department, and with my role, I am really responsible for the end-to-end loan life cycle. I am responsible for our client-facing tools, loan documentation, account requirements, as well as client communication, making sure that the client experience is a good one.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Srinivas Gauraram. I'm a portfolio group lead as well as a transformation leader at CNA. I'm with the CNA for the last 5 years, working on moving their legacy policy admin as well as claim systems into the future strategic platforms, including Guidewire and SmartCOMM itself. Before that, I was at American Family for 15 years. So out of my 30-year career, 20 years with PNC, working towards that line. So just to know a little bit about the CNA, CNA is a 138-year-old insurance company. We serve both specialty and commercial lines. We do the surety as well as the warranty business. We do operate both in North America, in the US and Canada, as well as in the Europe. So we do have a global presence, as well as we serve small business, middle market, and large customers. If you look at it, we have breadth and depth of what we do in the overall of the insurance spaces.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Srinivas, I'll start with you. So I know the last couple of sessions we've been talking about how customer expectations have been changing, and they're changing rapidly. So I just want to get a sense from CNA's perspective. What are you seeing? What kind of shifts are you seeing from customer expectations in the experience they get from CNA?
Sure, I'll get onto that. And thanks, Sarah Kay, that was really good experience, like how they changed from the medical and then the health insurance side of it. It's a little bit different from the commercial side of it, but that's where we are trying to get there. So customers' expectations are changing in the insurance space much faster. Previously, they used to look at us as like, hey, send me the policy, right? Especially if you think about the middle market, construction, and the large policies, it works mostly with the broker, with the customer relationships. They look at, hey, here is the risk we are looking. Yeah, send me the quote at the account level, and then the price is good. Send me the policy, we are good. Things are changing now. I know as we are looking at these things, they're looking at us like, hey, how do we run this business? Help me out on the business itself. And insurance plays a vital role part of that part. So what does that means? It comes to the underwriting and policy side of it, right? So a few things. What is the faster time to quote to bind? When a customer reach out to you, how fast we can do taking a submission, do the quote, as well as bind and issue the policy. The other important aspect of it is few repetitive calls back to the broker and to the customer asking for the same information. As we have discounted or disjointed systems and processes, each of the groups going back and following up with the customers on these things. And the third and very important aspect of it, I think yesterday somebody talked about the pizza tracker. If we can know where my pizza is when I order online and exactly what time it comes and what they are doing it, but we cannot explain that to the customer. When they send their submission, till the policy get issued or the quote proposal letter going to the customer, it is very difficult to tell them like which status your policy or your submission is in. Based on, because as a technologist, if you go and ask them, they may give you multiple different statuses, If you go and ask the operation persons, he will tell you something different. Versus if you're really looking at from the underwriter, he's expecting a different answer. So just streamlining those things and giving a unique visibility and giving them the consistent information on where their policy is and what is the next action we are going to take on their policies. Those are the fundamental things. The other things brokers and customers are looking for is self-service capabilities, especially on certificate of insurance, additional insure request, whether they want to get into their documents, billing and payment side of it. All these things customers, they are looking into. Here is the things we need to provide. But as we are in the large commercial, they also want to have access to your underwriters, your operations teams. When they have specific requests or a complex changes, they want to do it, as well as if they are in a rush. So they want to provide both of them. Like they don't want to take out like, oh, you provided your self-service capabilities, you don't need underwriting access. So their expectations are more. I will turn this one into, if you ask me the same question next year, how is this things going to change, especially with the AI in play? Right now, we are talking about agentic AI for carriers, both how we can do it in the development side, as well as the carrier can answer some of these questions. But if you think about if the same agents coming into the broker side and the agents on the customer side, I don't know how this is going to be. Maybe all these agents are going to talk to each other. Maybe we can solve this problem differently. But for now, those are the things we're looking for.
Totally makes sense. As you said, things are changing pretty fast.
Pretty fast.
I'm curious, even at Northern Trust, are you seeing a similar shift in customer expectations as well?
So customers are looking for intuitive and less rework. So in the past, we've had large document packages where clients had to put the same piece of information on multiple different documents. So their name, their tax ID, date of birth, but they're putting it in multiple places. They're looking for more intuitive processes, can I type my name once?
Yeah. Awesome, thank you. Elizabeth, maybe ask you the next question. So we're kind of talking about moving from interaction to experience, right? So at Bancorp, what does that mean to you guys?
Sure. So our first interaction with the client is really through our technology. And our technology follows the client through their lending journey from the beginning to the end, from application to payoff. And it is very important that the technology we create and we provide to our clients to utilize really gives clients clear guidance to move forward. Because if it doesn't do that, then what's the point?
Yeah.
The clients can feel overwhelmed rather than empowered, and they really do need to be empowered to make their own decisions. So when we build technology and we build the tools that our clients need, we want to make sure that not only does that technology help us be smarter, help us be more efficient, we need to make sure that that technology enables us to maintain personal relationships, right? We want to make sure that not every client needs a touch. Not every client needs human support. But it is very important for our technology to have that ability, right? We want to elevate our service from technical to personal. And that's where we become successful. And that's where the client has a solid experience with our organization.
Srinivas, you probably see that a lot in your world as well, don't you?
Yeah. So especially, the way we used to operate, right? Especially from the interaction perspective, customer asks for information. We focus on that area and we find a problem. And this just focus on that area alone, like I talked about the pizza trackers, the status is a good example. Like we can go on and fixing those problems. But we did a step back, try to understand the end-to-end flow. If you want to really provide that experience, first things you need to be looking at is the total flow of end-to-end flow, what happens. So in our case, in the insurance space is from the submission to the triage to underwriting, rating, and bind and issue, endorsements and renewals. Once you understand and define that flow, then it's much easier. And then you standardize the language and standardize the decision making, how you do these processes, then it's much easier to provide that information back to the user when they're asking these questions. And you're also providing some standardized information back to them in a way that they understand it. Otherwise, they're confused with what information are we providing to them. So,
Totally makes sense. Kirsten, if I could go back to you. So we talked a lot about orchestration and how we orchestrate between systems to manage communications and forms and processes. How is that working out for yours, and how are you starting to connect things to create a more cohesive experience within Northern Trust?
So I think we're pretty early in this journey.
Yep.
We historically have looked at parts of a process to fix and where we can make small improvements. We're starting to look at things from a business capability perspective, and so account onboarding. What's the whole process look like? How can we fix the end-to-end? You may not fix it all at once, but you at least have a vision.
Totally makes sense. Elizabeth, are you seeing the same challenges to orchestrate between systems in your world?
We are. I think we're doing well. We're a little farther in our journey for our clients. We did have to take pen to paper. We had to really look at our process for our client from beginning to end and look not from a fragment standpoint, how we can fix those particular fragments, but how we can connect those fragments. And not only connect them, but to connect them in the same way, with the same tools, right? And that's really what SmartIQ has done for us. In the background, we have SmartCOMMs, which helps us with the front end piece for our clients. But then in the background, we have SmartIQ connecting it's 5 different systems for us, right? And the client doesn't know that. But that's how we are utilizing technology so that we are faster and wiser and smarter and able to meet the client's needs quickly. Everything's fast-paced these days.
It absolutely is. So when you think about that, right, just kind of following on to that, so when you think about customer journey and we think about onboarding and servicing, where are you focusing most right now on improving that customer engagement?
Our goal is always to obtain immediate trust from our client. We want to make sure that we maintain long-term partnerships. So in order to do that, we really need to visualize our client's experience. We need to identify the pain points. We need to see and find the gaps where engagement is low and make improvements. For example, one of the things that we have done is simplified onboarding and added to that communication that is not only effective, but personal to each client. Again, clients want things done quickly. They want to have an experience of a streamlined and accurate process. And so by simplifying our onboarding, we have been able to accelerate our workflow and expedite delivery, right? That coupled with client service in the form of personal communication has increased our engagement. We have clients, every client has a need.
Yep.
Not every need is a major life or financial event. So we need to make sure that we treat each client with the utmost care. We want to make sure that everything we do demonstrates a genuine care for our client. And that increases engagement. That helps us meet our goal.
Yeah, thank you. Kirsten, are you seeing similar hotspots when it comes to customer engagement within your organization as well?
Yeah, I think, again, they want quick changes. They want improved experiences, and the data collection up front is key. It's going to help us have a cleaner, onboarding experience, but it's also going to help us with maintenance down the road. And so making sure that we have those validations, those intuitive processes so that we can collect clean data is really important.
That makes sense.
Maybe I can just jump onto that.
Absolutely.
Customer interactions in one of the examples I'll share with you. As a large carrier, we do provide auto insurance, and hopefully some of you understand what UM, under uninsured and underinsured motorists, where we need to send email to the broker, to the customer, and then make sure they select their coverages and then sign it and send it back to the carrier so that we can provide that coverage itself. The way we used to operate is we send an email to the brokerage with, we operate in all 50 states, so we all 50 state forms, and there are multiple, so they operate in different states if they have it. So they had to go through all those things, understand it, what coverages they want. It's a manual process. So with SmartIQ, we looked at it last quarter. We looked at the SmartIQ, how do we solve this problem? And then now we are building a portal with a SmartIQ to send this questionnaire to the customer based on which states they are operating, where they have autos. Now they can clearly look at it. Hey, here is where we need to really identify, where we need to collect the information from UIM and get the signature and send it back to us. That changes dramatically how we do it. The other use cases we are now looking at is we do the application attestations for workers' comp, general liability, and professional liability and management liability based on different renewal times. This is all manual process. We fill out the application, we send it to the customer, they go through those things, they mark down those changes with the ink. Somebody's reading those things and refilling back into the applications and processing the renewals. There's a lot of manual work going on there. How do we change that experience using the tools like SmartIQ and ask them the questions like TurboTax type of questions like, hey, based on these things, here is the few things probably could change your business. And so can you answer these questions, take that data back into and process those renewals? It's much faster. So that's what we're looking at.
I'm just going to pull on that thread about changing your business, right? So we're talking about changes in expectations with customer experience and engagement. But all of this requires change, and it's not just technology change, right? So you've got to bring in operations and business and technology. Can you speak a little bit, Srinivas, about how your experience has been around that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you ask me, like last decade, we are all very proud of how we used to deliver the goods and how fast we can deliver from the IT perspective, right? That's all. And business is always a blocker for us. So we never looked at it, business as a partner model, and then how we do it. But that model is not working anymore. As we started our strategic transformation at CNA, we looked at quickly to say, hey, what should be our driver getting onto this model? So we looked at everything has to be business value driven, outcome-based delivery. So once we understand that process, then we quickly look at who are all our stakeholders are. Look at from insurance perspective, there's a product and forms, there's an actuarial, there's underwriting, there's operations. Each one plays a role in those things. We brought all of them together, and then we also defined some common KPIs between how do you operate going forward is. Like time to taking from submission to quote to bind timings. What is my touch points between the submission and renewals is. And also how many requests we are sending it back to the brokers. Based on all those KPIs, we started operating on that process. And that really helped us how we work through as a common goal versus each individually, they are looking into like, hey, here is my way of doing it, whether it's a product is doing it and actuarial wants some other information, data wants some other information. We kind of bring all of them together and operating on that process. One of the issues we did face part of that is, but who makes the decisions is. Sometimes whoever is a highest voice or bigger voice, they could go for it, but no, we didn't go that approach. We looked at it, hey, underwriters owns the risk and appetite. So they are the decision makers part of that. Operations owns the workflows and then the processing side of it. IT become the enablers of the data and the automation is. So from drivers, we backseat and we take all these stakeholders and then we are enabling them to deliver these courses.
Not easy, is it? You're a senior product manager. You're kind of right in the middle of those conversations. How's your experience been trying to manage this change?
So I think it's important to make sure everyone's in the conversations, risk, compliance, legal, and the business, because otherwise you're going to end up with surprises down the road that's going to slow down delivery. There's always been times where compliance isn't looped in, and then down towards the end of the project, they show up and they say, wait a second, you didn't consider X, Y, Z. So I think a big key is including them from day one.
Yeah, avoid surprises. Like that's the biggest thing. Elizabeth, have you kind of seen any surprises as you're deploying changes in your environment?
We're very disciplined to make sure we include compliance and legal. We don't make a move without them. But yes, before implementing a new process, we make sure that not only are the upper management teams, such as legal, compliance, are involved, and management, right, that have a hand in making the requirements, we really need to involve all team members, right? So we too have separate teams. When you look at creating or establishing one loan, right? We have the sales team, we have the underwriting team, we have a collateral management team to evaluate the collateral, determining the line of credit we can provide, and then we have an operations team which books the loans and makes sure that the systems run well to manage the account post-closing. Everybody from, I shouldn't say everybody from those teams, but every team is involved in reviewing and building requirements before implementation. It's the only way we can ensure that we're very close to being perfect when we establish and implement a new process for our clients.
Totally makes sense. Srinivas, I'll come back to you. I know we talked a lot about how do we do this and what the process looks like and what the expectation is. But do you have like a particular project or initiative? Maybe you can kind of walk us through an example of something specific that you went through to realize these outcomes.
Yeah, sure. So as I was explaining how we brought all these teams together, when we started our transformation, restarted our transformation journey into Guidewire Cloud as well as SmartCOMM, we started moving our specialty lines products into the new platform. As we started this journey, it was, so few things happens, right? When you're doing the product migration from your legacy systems into the future strategic systems, you're doing product rationalization, form rationalization, you're looking into your rates, you're looking into your workflows. As you're working through these things, and we spend like months and months going through these things and working each stakeholder as a separate unit and working through these things. So it took a lot of time. Like by the time we released our first 2 products into production, it took like probably 2+ years into production. As we are working through that, we realized in specialty lines, management and professional liability, and you guys can think about, we could have a combination of products. So we have somewhere around 25, 30 products. When we looked at our roadmap, this takes probably another 10 years, we could retire on this journey itself. That's not an option to do it. So as we're going through these things, we also looked at it, how could we streamline some of these processes? That's where we look back into hey, how could we come with a common cadence, with a common goal of business value, what business value we're going to do it, and bringing everybody together. So we changed our processes. So instead of starting and interviewing each stakeholder, working through these things, we said, hey, how come all of you guys work together for 2 months and then review all these products and come back with a common business package delivered for IT to start working on those things. Fast forward, last year, when we implemented this process, we implemented 10 product lines in 1 year in Guidewire Cloud, including SmartCOMM. And that's not easy to do it. Some of you guys are implementing in Guidewire too. It's not easy to implement 10 product lines, even if it is a smaller product lines, in 1 year with all full countrywide rollout too. So that's what it enabled us to do it. And also it provides you not only just looking at all the things what you need when you are working individual silos, this will also provide you a holistic priority of what is really priority, between, if you look at between the product, actuarial, and from the underwriting and processes. Everybody have their own needs. If you look at from actuarial perspective, they want to collect as much data as possible from the consumer so that they can do the better pricing. Underwriting, looking from a different perspective, what data points I need to collect so that I can assess better the risk is. From the operations side, they are looking at minimum touch points, how fast I can process these things, my SLAs are established. There is a competing priorities, but if you put all of them together, kind of going through this exercise, now you come back with a common consensus, okay, here is what we should do it, and then let's continue to work on it. It's not one time and done. Let's continue to evolve on these things, what's working, and how we can evolve these products and changes going forward into the production is.
Yeah, it really makes sense. And then Elizabeth, I know you guys have been doing a lot at Bancorp, and I don't know if there's an example that you can share that helps us demonstrate what this really means.
Sure, and I have to say I'm very proud of a recent project, and I kind of took the idea from another company, Domino's. So I order from Domino's a lot, and what we wanted to do is we heard from the financial advisors what they needed for their clients, but we also heard a lot from them what they needed from us to take the proactive approach to understand what's going on with their clients' accounts and reaching out to the client to have that continued interaction. When a client applies for a loan, the financial advisor wants to know what the status is of that loan. And we do provide that status to the clients, right, through communication in various channels. But how do we give the financial advisor that advance update so they can have that proactive conversation with their client? And the one thing that I loved about the Domino system is when I ordered a pizza, I got an email. And the email says, hey, we confirm your order. This is what it is. Click here to track the status. I click the link, and I'm brought to a landing page, and they have a bar, and hopefully many of you have seen it, where it says pizza order received, right? Then it goes to pizza being made, pizza's in the oven, pizza's being delivered, and sometimes it gives an estimate time from the time it leaves the store, and then I get another update that, hey, pizza's at the front door. And I wanted to follow that process. I thought it was a really good idea. We have a system that FAs can log into to view everything that is going on with all of their clients that have accounts with us. And when a client has a pending request, whether that request is for a new application or a post-closing change request, an increase to the loan, a change in a trustee, a change in an authorized representative, an addition of an agent through a power of attorney, our system now gives them that same status in a simple bar just across. They, of course, can call us. They can have direct contact with us, but that change has reduced a lot of phone calls for us, for our call center.
It's amazing, right? It's just simple changes, and
yeah,
that's what customers want, just transparency. And Kirsten, I don't know if you have an example that you could talk about as well.
Yeah, so we have an account opening process that involved mailing in a piece of paper to a PO box and then waiting. We used SmartIQ to build out a form that's now sending emails when we've received your application, and how long the review is going to take. If you have to give us updates to that application, it tells you that. Once your account has been reviewed and sent for processing, it tells you that and how long you should wait for your account opening package to come back to you. So we don't quite have the tracker visibility that you've provided, but we're now giving updates, and there's a timeline, and they know who to call if they want further details. Much faster than waiting for the post office to mail it. Makes sense.
Now, you guys have all gone through a lot of change and a lot of progress, and everybody here is also at some point in their progress with improving the customer journey. So I guess I'll ask each of you, as you've gone through this process, what are some lessons learned that everybody else in the audience would appreciate and kind of watch out for? So Srinivas, if I could start with you.
Yeah, so it's interesting times we are in. All these lessons learned, what we have, it already looks outdated with the AI coming in, and we are learning every day. So it's almost like unlearn what you learned and learn new things, how you have to do it. But I think Sarah Kay said it right. Think customer in the middle, and we are serving the customers, from any of these industries if you take it. So whatever work we are doing, is it adding value to the customer? Right, coming from the insurance spaces, especially when I look at small business space, these are all small mom and pop shops and others, Insurance is not their first thing they want to do it. By nature, okay, they want to protect their livelihood. That's why they're coming back to the insurances. So how do you look at from the empathy perspective, and how do you understand their things? And if you're going to ask them, provide me all this information which you don't know, or they don't understand it, it's going to be very painful. And then we misclassify them and give them the wrong risk. So start thinking about what customer knows, what customer wants, and what additional things you have to do it, third-party data and additional ways of doing these things, but provide a value to the customer. So always think from the customer's perspective, what they want, what they can provide, and how could you help them out, not just looking at from your window, but just thinking from their perspective and working through it. I think that will be a big help. The second advice, AI. I think we cannot ignore what it can do. I start thinking about it. I was going through, like I was talking to yesterday somebody, how is this even going to change? Just as a person, for myself, like, when did I change last time my insurance carrier is? 10 years ago or 15 years ago. My direct pay goes from my account. I pay for cars, my home, and everything else is. Once in a while, if the claim comes, are they paying for me or not? That's all good. So future, I could create my agents who is tracking myself, what all the things I'm going to do it, what all the things at renewal time, and then that opens up a window of opportunity where, hey, you're paying for all these things. You want me to go back and look at what is available in the market? Are you rightly covered? Or if you want to change it. That could happen, right? It's a near distance. We can see that happening. From a carrier perspective, that's interesting because sometimes when somebody takes the insurance, retention is very, very important for us. So how are we going to take care of these customers from that perspective so that they're not shopping every year, and it makes the shopping easier going through this path, what I just explained. So you need to be very careful, or we all need to be very careful. How are we going to take care of these customers in a way that they're staying with us, not just from the pricing perspective, but what value we are providing, how are we going to take care of them, whether they're reaching out to us or when they are in need. So we have to put a different lens to say all these external factors, how they are coming in, and how are we going to change from individually, as well as from the carrier perspective, how are we going to change it. So we had to add extra dimensions. What do you think today? So.
Thank you for sharing that. Elizabeth, any lessons learned?
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that companies just starting, right, to really change the way they interact with clients have a head start as AI is considered. We, as much as we advance ourselves with our technology, we're just learning AI. So we are going to have we're at a slow start, but we'll advance eventually. So when you consider those things, such as AI, and take a step back and be the client. Think about the user experience. We know what we need to be successful. We know what we need to get our job done, to meet regulatory requirements, to meet our compliance requirements. But does that make sense to the client, right? Remember, sometimes I look at requirements and client-facing things, whether it be marketing or even some of the communication from our underwriters, and they're using internal language. Be very careful not to do that, right? Because what makes sense to you doesn't make sense to the client. And the other thing that I would say is, everyone is becoming very good at onboarding, bringing in the client, setting up the account. But what happens when that is done, right? So while you're doing a great job at onboarding, really think about what comes next. How are you going to successfully service that client to keep the momentum going, to maintain that relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. And someone said that yesterday, right? Change is not the end, it's the beginning.
Right.
And what happens after that is really important. Mm-hmm. Kirsten?
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you. I think the other thing is making sure you understand that the clients are not all going to want the same thing. Some of them are going to want a digital channel that's really intuitive and drives down to how to answer each question, and some are still going to want that paper package. And so you need to understand that there's different paths to get things done, and you have to offer what each client is going to look for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you sharing your journey. If you guys have some questions, I know Srinivas, Elizabeth, and Kirsten are going to be around. They've kind of gone through it, so learn from them. Can I just give a big round of applause for our panelists? They did a great job. Thank you so much.